Hello and welcome back to the closet. I am set up in here for an audiobook that I'm currently recording, so forgive the robe and the ties and the closetness. This week we've got a cool episode. It's an old episode, so if you've been following us on YouTube, this episode is has been only on YouTube. And now we're bringing it into the actual podcast registry of all the podcast episodes. So this week is Jennie Bunker, and I met Jennie when I was out in Boston. She was in my ward in Cambridge, and I was able to interview her. It's a sweet, short interview. I think you're gonna laugh. There's a couple stories in there that are going to make you laugh, and I think it's going to be enjoyable. So we're going to have an oldie but a goodie this week. And then last little update is that 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now, let me get my counting right. 3 weeks from now, we're going to be doing, and another little update, 3 weeks from now is our official 100th episode out of all is our 100th episode, and it's going to be a special one where I talk about the things that I've learned through conducting all these interviews, and also, highlighting and focusing on a few themes, a few trends, and maybe pulling out a few moments that I think are worth re-mentioning. So you're not going to want to miss that special 100th episode. And again, if I can ask you to share this podcast with somebody, your sharing helps us grow the podcast, get more testimonies, and share more testimonies. And it's all about you. So thank you so much for doing that. And let's get into Jennie Bunker. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Why I Stay podcast, a podcast produced especially for the members of the Cambridge Second Ward. Today I have with me Jennie Bunker. Jennie, would you like to say hello?
Hello. Hi.
All right. Would you also like to say how great I am?
You're amazing, Lindsay. You're my hero.
All right. Now that I've got you here. No. Thanks for agreeing to be with us here today. I think having your voice on here is really important. So thank you.
Well, anytime. Glad I can help.
All right. So I want to just straight up get right into it with the rapid fire questions that every single person who comes on this podcast gets. And that starts out with, what is your full name?
Jennie Elizabeth Bunker.
Perfect. How old are you?
28.
What's your favorite food?
My initial thought was bacon. I am like the Ron Swanson of bacon, but honestly, I think just any food I myself don't have to prepare.
Totally.
I actually thought of you when I was thinking about this. I was like, oh, Chick-fil-A, definitely. When you and I went that one time and on the free Chick-fil-A day, that was the greatest.
I never miss an opportunity to get free food, so I'm right there with you. If I don't have to make it, it's all good for me.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
All right, favorite TV show or movie?
The Office, for sure. It's my husband Steven and I love The Office. It's kind of just our go-to. And then I love anything also like movie-wise or show. I love anything BBC. I love British shows. They're just amazing.
Oh, those British people.
Yes, they're awesome.
I know. I'm a total fan of everything BBC as well.
Yes.
What is your current hobby?
So our first year here in Boston, so we've been here just over a year. We didn't have a car, and that was a little bit tricky. So now that we have our car, I think our hobby together as a family is just taking advantage and just kind of seeing the East Coast. So we try to go somewhere every Saturday just to explore and see what there is to see out here. Because I mean, we're only here for another year, so we're trying to take advantage. So I would say that's my current hobby.
Yeah, you don't want to like let the time sneak up on you. I think for people like me who are just kind of here indefinitely, we think, oh, we'll get to that, but we need more of a rigorous schedule, I think, like yours, so that we make sure we take advantage of all the East Coast has to offer if we ever have to leave.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, I mean, you've got 3 kids, so I can see how it can be a little tricky.
Hey man, they've all got seats in my car, so they
I know.
Come wherever we want to go. What is your favorite calling ever?
So I thought about it. I loved being a relief society teacher. That was easy and great. And then I will say most fulfilling though was Young Women's President. and then missionary. I like forget that being a missionary is actually a calling. But yeah, those two are definitely probably the top on my list.
Perfect. What is a controversial opinion that you hold?
I'm like nervous to say this. I love tattoos.
Get out.
I think they're like really attractive. Like some people don't pull them off, but I feel like just I don't know. Steven, my husband, I love like when it's a good looking tattoo, I'm like, man, there's like times where I'm like, I wish I like had the guts to do it. I never would. I'm too cheap and I know I would regret it. And obviously, I mean, as members, we're taught not to. I mean, to me, it's not a big deal, but that's just probably my controversial opinion.
So if you were to get a tattoo in some other alternate reality, what would it be of?
Probably my kids' names and their birthdays. Honestly, that's probably the only thing meaningful that I could ever think to put on my body permanently. But yeah, I don't know, honestly. That's my other issues. Like I have no idea like what kind of tattoo.
Like the BBC logo on the back of your neck.
Oh.
Okay. What's your biggest dream?
To stand on the same hill as Julie Andrews in Austria, right? Because they filmed Sound of Music in Austria. And just belt out singing The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music.
So cool.
I know. I'm like, I just want to go there so bad. I love Julie Andrews is like, she's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I love the Sound of Music. So definitely a dream of mine.
All right.
To go there.
Film it and bring it back and we'll put the audio on the podcast when you're done.
You got it.
What is something about you that is the same now as it was when you were in high school?
Well, despite my love for like British cinema, I have started a few Jane Austen books. I have never to this day finished one though. I started them in high school. Yeah. And I still don't. I don't know what it is. I love to read. I just, for whatever reason, have not gotten through a Jane Austen book. So yeah, that's something about me that's pretty much the same as high school. Yeah.
All right. So those are our rapid fire questions, which I love. I love hearing people's answers to these. The next exploratory cues, I always give people a list of 5 and we try and hit 3. So we're going to start with, when have you had to have courage in your discipleship?
I mean, if you think about it every day, but I think probably 2 distinct memories were definitely on the mission. I mean, I served in Alabama, so very much Bible Belt, very traditional. You've got very strong Christians there, which is great. I learned a lot, but you have definitely a lot of anti-Mormons. So we got approached quite a few times. One in particular was he was a former Baptist minister, and he just really yelled, like he called me and my companion out pretty heavily, and was very strong with his words and said all sorts of things, but mostly that we were blind and deceiving others and just lying to ourselves and, accusing Joseph Smith, yada, yada. And it's obviously hard to hear because everything you believe and they're just kind of trying to drag you down. But there was another time a lady brought me and my companion into her home, and it was really dark and kind of creepy, and she just had candles going on, and she tried to like pray the devil out of us, and we're like, whoa. So we got out of there pretty quick. But I don't know, you kind of just, in those hard times, you just kind of have to bear simple testimony and walk away. Those are some of the hardest moments, I think, but definitely super grateful for them. Yeah, I definitely think the mission was probably the most times I've had to use a lot of courage with those instances of either being thrown anti-Mormon, like literature, or just people being very accusatory. And then just having the courage to just stand up and bear simple testimony and just walk away. It was something really hard for me to do, but I'm very grateful for that experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. Next question. What is your most embarrassing moment from your church experience?
So not to be talking about my mission a lot, but definitely I mean, I was, let's see, that was when all the age change stuff happened. So I was actually on the older end. I was almost 21 when I went out, and all the other sisters were like 19, 20. So I should have been the more mature, but I was definitely like the most immature. And I did some pretty, I mean, in the moment, I didn't think it was a big deal, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, I was so embarrassing. But I was on an exchange, and when we were driving to this appointment, it was a part member family, and they had 3 kids, none of which they're all older than 8, like in their youth, and none of them had been baptized. And the parents had been baptized, so it's kind of an interesting situation. But the kids were really they were trying to learn about the gospel, but kind of just deciding for themselves, which I respected. But the sister that I was talking to said the kids had a really hard time paying attention in the lesson. And so I was like, oh, I can fix that. And I went into the lesson, and I just spoke in an Australian accent the entire time and just lied to this family. So I'm like, I'm never going to see them again, right? So I just lied and said I was from Australia, and they were so intrigued. They like did not really talk the entire time. They just like listened. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it would work because people from Australia are like so cool. So I feel so guilty about it to this day. And I honestly, I should follow up with this family. I don't even know like what happened, but they, I mean, the spirit was there, I guess. Like I remember I even like prayed, and I'm shocked. It was like an hour lesson, and I did not break the entire time. And I felt so bad. Like obviously, like I said, not in the moment, but later on, I was like, oh my gosh, I am like the worst. So anyway.
Love that.
Yeah, a little embarrassing.
Being honest, but man, that is so funny. Oh, and I'm sure that's nothing Facebook couldn't fix. You just try and look those people up. And
Yeah, I definitely should.
but
Maybe I
still-
can apologize.
Well, so my next question is, can you do the Australian accent for us?
Oh my gosh, I knew you were gonna ask, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh no. I'd have to think.
I know it's so on the spot. So if you don't
Yeah.
want to do it, that's fine. Maybe the spirit helped you then.
It's true. I haven't done it in so long, honestly. I could try. If I think about, I don't know, if I think about like rugby in my head,
Yeah.
like the great game of rugby is such a great game, you know. Uh, I don't know why talking about that just makes my accent come out a little bit better, but um, I don't know.
That's awesome. It's so good. Great job. All right. That was a tear coming out of my eye. Okay. That is fantastic. Okay. So this is the last of the exploratory questions. What makes you so excited about the gospel of Jesus Christ? Like what aspects of it really light you up?
Everything, honestly. But probably the most important to me is eternal families. It's something that's always been meaningful to me. More because it's personal as well. My youngest brother, his name's Kelvin. He's adopted. He's from Mozambique, Africa, and it was the longest process for my family to get him over here to the States. It took about 6 years, and it was a long battle, very long emotional battle, especially for my mom, who went quite a few times to try and bring him back, but she just came back empty-handed every time. So by the time he finally joined our family, 6 long years later, we had the amazing blessing of seeing Kelvin be sealed to my parents. I remember I was a junior in high school, so I wasn't even endowed, and I think my other sister too. So like there's a few of us that weren't endowed, but most of my siblings were at the time. So it was a great blessing just being with my entire family, and seeing that beautiful ordinance be performed in the Mesa Temple, which is very special to probably both of us. It was the temple that you and I grew up with. So it was such a great blessing. And it just really hit me after the sealer performed the ordinance. He had us stand in front of those mirrors as just a family. And it just was the coolest feeling, just seeing like our image together just go on forever. And that's just a moment I will never forget. And that's when it hit me really hard. Like this gospel is so true. This is what it's all about, is just God's family, God's children being sealed together. That's that's what it's all about for me. And that's what makes the gospel just really pump me up. I love it. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's beautiful. And I think along with that, when you can have that eternal perspective about your family or about anything, you think about it like forever is a long time, right? And if things aren't fair now or are difficult now, um, you know, I trust that God will be able to handle it, you know. If it's not handled now, eternity, he's given us eternity to work stuff out. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it won't even take that long, but it feels like forever sometimes here. I'm sure those 6 long years felt like an eternity to you and your family, your mom especially. But God is good and he makes things work out. So thank you for sharing that.
Anytime.
All right. So the final question that everybody gets when they come on this podcast is this: why do you stay in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Simple answer, Lindsay. At least for me, all I typed out here in my notes is it's the truth. It's the truth. It is something that I've had so many experiences to where the truth was just made manifest to me through personal experiences, and I just cannot deny it. And to me, it's okay that I don't have all the answers in this life. And for me, I don't know what it is. I've just never really doubted the gospel, and I love it. It's just something that makes me so incredibly happy. And I just want it for everyone. Maybe that should be my biggest dream. That everyone has access or joins the church. No, but it's the truth, and it's what makes me the most happy in this life and obviously in the next. And it's something that has brought me so close to my loving heavenly parents and my savior, my amazing brother who did so much for me and for all of God's children. And I just, there's nothing that makes me happier knowing that.
All right, Jennie, thank you for being here. Your testimony is wonderful and beautiful, and you are also wonderful and beautiful. So thank you for taking your time. Oh, wait, say that again. They didn't come through clearly.
You are wonderful and beautiful. So many ways.
Oh, all right. So we're just going to sign off here. Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of the Why I Stay podcast. We hope that you have a wonderful week and continue to build your testimony in Jesus Christ, in faith in him and in your heavenly parents. All right. See you later, guys. Bye-bye. Hello again. Sorry for the grainy. It's so bad. The lighting's so bad. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So, I hope you enjoyed that quick little episode with Jennie. I thought she was awesome. It was fun to revisit this episode and bring it into the Spotify and Apple playlists that we want. It's also available on YouTube. So, if you guys could go ahead and share this episode, share the podcast, or even share with me, why do you stay? I would love to hear from you. And we're always needing more interviews. So, if you feel that tug, there it is. I always make that noise. It's there. You are more than welcome to come on this podcast. We'd love to have you. Okay, guys, enough of the closet, enough of the poor recording video. We will see you next time, and thank you for staying with us. The Why I Stay podcast is a faith-based podcast exploring the lives and experiences of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This podcast is not produced or endorsed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we do love that church. All rights reserved. And a great big shout out to Fast Sounds from Pixabay for the amazing and jammin' intro-outro music. Thanks, guys.